I've done a fair amount of these mistreatment or favoritism videos, and the common misconception with them is that people think that a person can only be mistreated on a season if they have low placements, or that they cannot have been mistreated because they had high placements, or vice versa with the favoritism. I mentioned this now in the intro because the queen we'll talk about today was a main character in season 17, but the way the show tried to present her to us was not logical, and the production clearly tried to change how we viewed her. I have to mention this for the millionth time, but queens on Drag Race are not real people, they're characters in a story. I mean, they are real people, but you know what I mean. And as such, the show has to create a story of the season that will best explain who the winner is. However, they have been really bad at that in these double-digit seasons, because they rely too heavily on pleasing children on social media rather than creating a good story for the viewers. In season 17, there were 3 stories that spanned more than one episode. The A story, or the A plot, was the Lexi vs. Suzie storyline, a completely one-sided rivalry where an unhinged, insecure queen on the offense was portrayed as the hero of the story, and the queen that literally did nothing but be correct and not have a high femme drag style was portrayed as the villain of the story. Because logic. This positions Lexi Love and Suzie Toot as the main characters of the season. The B plot was Arieri and Jules Sparkle's friendship that turned into a rivalry, which was, all things considered, a well-told story, which makes them the secondary main characters of the season. The C plot was the romance between Kori King and Lydia B. Collins. They're there in the background, having fun. Samstar was often involved with the Lexi and Suzie story, and she kinda had her own story of breaking out of the pageant country queen archetype, but then she nested herself right back into it in the last portion of the season, so she's kind of, let's say, the main supporting character of the season. So what's wrong with this picture? The winner of the season was not part of the A, B, or C plotline. There was a minimal storyline in the beginning between Lexi, Jules, and Onya Nurve, where Onya was portrayed as the villain. And from time to time, Onya would also side with Suzie in the arguments that she had with Lexi, so again, Onya, the winner of the season, would be presented as a supporting villainous character. The winner of the season, being not even a tertiary character, but a quaternary one, is a form of mistreatment. I want to thank everyone who has become a member of the channel. Hero, Juan, Camille, Rami, Paul, Mickey, Arsen, Lena, Zdravko, DCINU, Santiago, Velvet Condoms, and Joey have all seen this video before the rest of you, and they already have a new video to watch, or at least to listen to. The video in question is the preseason ranking of the All-Stars 10 cast. If you would like to see that video before others, you know what to do. Now, let's get back to the video. But let's not talk about that exactly now, let's talk about one of our main characters, Suzie Toot. I've already done the video on the Villainization of Suzie earlier in the season, so I will leave the parts that I talked about in that video for later, because they might be a little redundant for viewers that have already seen that video, but it is still essential viewing. Essentially, the 3 major episodes of the Mistreatment of Suzie came in the premiere, the RDR live episode, which, yes, I know, she won the challenging those episodes. Did you not listen to the fucking intro? And then in the Rusical episode. The mistreatment of hers does also happen in the second top 5 episode, the one that she gets eliminated in, but it more so has to do with how her aesthetic was shit on from the moment that she stepped into the workroom. That culminated in that episode with her exit. So like I said, it's totally possible for a queen to win a challenge or even an entire season and be mistreated in the way that they presented her. The mistreatment here is a misrepresentation of Suzie. From the get-go, the show showed us how the cast was not getting, quote-unquote, Suzie's drag style. They found her makeup to be weird, they saw her makeup skills as lacking, and oh, what's that? You want to show us a skill that you needed to study and practice for months for a talent show, instead of doing a poorly choreographed lip sync to an AI-generated track. What a bad drag queen. Obviously, in that first episode, Suzie proved them all wrong, as did Lexi for her premiere, which is very interesting how that is parallel. Where their stories differ from there is that even though Suzie got her flowers from her fellow queens and a well-deserved win in the first episode, as did Lexi, Suzie still kept kept being seen as less talented or as her drag not being on the same level as the other queens, simply because her drag style is not high femme or sexualized. Drag Race in general has a problem with any type of drag that is not, again, feminine or sexualized, because for as much as revolutionary Drag Race is, RuPaul is still a man in his 60s, and his and a lot of gay men's views on women are very one-dimensional. Here's the thing. We all have different opinions on what we like or dislike, but you cannot seriously tell me that Suzie Toot did not have some of the best runways this season, at least conceptually. Cake look. She was a donkey because both donkey and cake are synonymous with the word ass. For the tickled pink runway, she was a harlequin, something that's supposed to make you laugh, put you in a good mood, or tickle you pink. Nailed it! Iron Maiden. Conceptually the best look of the season, argue with the wall. Incorporating the cat motif into the Truman Capote inspired black and white ball and making it inspired by Egyptian depictions of cats, especially the goddess Bastet, is genius. And I'm sorry, but her opulent outerwear look should have kept her out of the bottom two for her final episode. The coat that she has on is one of the most stunning pieces of clothing that is so legitimately opulent that the Drag Race runway almost does not even deserve to have it on there. The look also stays true to Suzie's aesthetic, while also mixing well with the Vegas showgirl aesthetic, which was the theme of the episode, with the feathers and the fur. Now, of course, is Suzie the best pick for the Vegas residency that Drag Race has? Absolutely not. She has her own brand of performance that does not align with, again, the most marketable form of drag to people who are not fans of drag. And listen, that's totally fine. It would be really boring if a Drag Race season was just 14 Cameron Michaelses competing who will be the next easily altered queen for the Vegas show's cast. And also, yes, Drag Race is a business. They want to maximize their revenue by doing what the fans want and by making people engage the easiest. They're not the only show that's doing that. However, they are also the most popular queer media in the world, and I think that does carry some responsibility. The responsibility in question being Drag Race not choosing their winners based on who can make them the most money and give them the most clout. That was the overall mistreatment of Suzie's aesthetic. However, the mistreatment of Suzie's character and the direct nonsense the show presented us with whenever she was right was absolutely insane. Like, I can understand someone watching the season and not liking Suzie's aesthetic to the point where they don't even appreciate anything she does simply because it's too foreign to them. That's fine, I guess. However, watching the RDR Live episode and the Rusical episode and not having a problem with how she was edited just means you got early symptoms of dementia. There were three major stories to consider here. The first one is how Lexi and Suzie's one-sided feud starts. Suzie advises Lexi and Crystal on comedy, as Suzie is the only one that does that kind of stuff. Lexi is not really receptive to the said advice, even though Suzie is right in everything that she's saying. This ends up being confirmed to us when the results of the episode come, and Suzie wins the challenge while Lexi and Crystal are safe. So Lexi is shown to us as being correct in the advice that she gave Lexi and Crystal because it did come from the place of understanding sketch comedy, but the show spun that into Suzie is patronizing towards Lexi, and because of Suzie, Lexi did not win. Notice how in these scenes, it's never Crystal's confessional saying how she's annoyed with Suzie. Yeah, it really makes you twink. And listen, even if we did believe the idea that Suzie only won because she did not allow Lexi to truly shine, we watched Snatch Game, where Lexi completely fucks up her character, but due to favoritism, the show tries to gaslight us into thinking she did well. I'm only mentioning Snatch Game now because Suzie's only controversy in the season did come with Snatch Game and what she said about Onya doing well in Snatch Game. Suzie basically said that Onya did well in Snatch Game because she played herself. Now, we know that that's not the case, but here's the thing. Suzie revealed that she did apologize to Onya for saying that, but that was cut from Untucked. So the show quite literally chose not to show Suzie in a good light, admitting that she was wrong and reconciling with Onya. The second and the third instance came in the Rusical episode, where there is also another bit of editing magic happening. But let's set it up first. So during the portion of the episode where the queens are choosing their roles for the Wizard of Oz, Wicked, The Wiz Rusical, Suzie advises Acacia not to choose the role of Country Dorothy, because this role is envisioned as more earnest. The character is performing a ballad, and it's literally called Country Dorothy. So why is she advising Acacia against that? Well, on one hand, yes, Suzie does want that role, but on the other, Suzie knows that the last time Acacia did earnest and country, she was pretty much told that she was boring, and she ended up being up for elimination. It's possible that Suzie had no good intentions behind advising Acacia, and she simply said it because she wanted to play the role of Country Dorothy. But again, she still gave Acacia very solid advice. Suzie also probably wanted to evade playing a character that was pretty much made for her, a highly dramatic theater villain that the show does not realize is not actually the villain, but everybody sees her as a villain. Either way, Acacia shits on her for this, calling out Suzie's strategy, and then Lexi and Sam pretty much attack Suzie as well. And what happens in the episode? Suzie almost wins, and Acacia is eliminated. Even though Suzie was yet again correct, she's shown as a villain in this scenario, without any resolution at the end of the episode, or in the next episode. Moreover, during the recording process for that episode, Suzie is shown as smiling to Acacia messing up her recording session, essentially being shown as being happy because Acacia made a mistake. However, and to quote the person that pointed this out to me in my comments, what the production ignored when choosing the shot of Suzie is that, to the left of Suzie, there is a small glimpse of the sleeve of a green sweatshirt. And who else was wearing a green sweatshirt in that group of queens? Oh wow, it was Acacia. It's Gina Gum smiling at Pheromone's fall all over again. In that same episode, and I have to mention this because this is the third instance, and it is also something that drives me insane that this has not been a bigger talking point about this season, Suzie is the only queen, again, only queen, that does not want Kori King to play the role of a flying monkey. Just let that sentence simmer in your brain. Suzie was the only queen in the cast in that episode, other than Kori, that did not want Kori to play the role of a flying monkey. But of course, in the episode, Suzie is yet again shown as a villain, a contrarian actually, solely because she did not get the role that she originally wanted. Oh my god, are there any other instances that you would have mentioned here? Pretty soon I will also be posting the Favoritism of Lexi video, so be on the lookout for that. Then I have a couple more season 17 videos planned, and then All Stars 10. Victoria Beckham, help us.